The day Chloe Preston said yes to Ethan Carter, everyone was certain I'd lose my mind. They expected a full-on meltdown, a fight with Ethan, something bloody and final. But as his grand, romantic gesture played out from start to finish, I was a no-show. Because what Chloe never knew was this. At that very moment, I was holding her best friend, lying in her best friend's bed, fighting like hell to keep a volcano from erupting inside me. The new transfer kid, a rich boy named Ethan, had made it known he was going to publicly declare his love for Chloe. She had warned our whole friend group beforehand, telling them not to let me know. I was supposed to be the only one in the dark. But there are always people who live for the drama, and someone had leaked the news to me early on. Everyone knew I was crazy about Chloe, the kind of crazy where you dream of marrying her. The problem was Chloe was actually into this new guy. They had been flirting, and everyone was convinced I was going to lose my cool, that I wouldn't let it go. Who would want to miss a soap opera like that? They were all waiting for me to charge in, have a public breakdown, and turn the whole confession into a chaotic mess. But I never showed, not even a shadow. The crowd of onlookers was 3 or 4 people deep, but as the spectacle dragged on, the excitement started to fade. Even Chloe didn't look particularly thrilled. She looped her arm through her new boyfriend's and pulled out her phone to check it. No calls, no texts. A small frown creased her brow before she looked up at the crowd and announced, "Ethan's buying drinks tonight. If you were here, you're invited." A cheer went up from the students around them. And that's when I finally stepped out from behind the cluster of trees where I'd been hiding. Someone with sharp eyes spotted me immediately and yelled, "It's Noah. Noah Miller, he's here." I knew it. There's no way Noah could stay away. Chloe's head snapped up. The moment she saw me, the corner of her mouth curled into a barely perceptible smirk. I ignored the gawking stares, the faces hungry for a scene, and walked straight up to her. "Noah." Chloe instinctively tightened her grip on her new boyfriend's arm. She looked at me, her voice cool and distant. "You can't force feelings. We've known each other for over a decade, and I don't want to say anything harsh that would ruin our history. I'll always see you as a brother. If I need help with something, you can still be there for me." She leaned in, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "There's so many people watching. Don't make this embarrassing for everyone. Just go home." "Chloe," I cut her off. I took a step forward. Her brow furrowed deeper with irritation. "Noah, calm down. Please just go back." I smiled and held out the watch I had just taken off my wrist. "I just came to give this back to you." The sight of the watch made her face darken instantly. "Noah, what kind of game are you playing now?" "Take it back," I said, my voice perfectly calm. "I won't bother you anymore." Chloe stared at me, her gaze turning colder by the second. "I don't care about that kind of money anymore. If you don't want it, throw it away." The moment the words left her mouth, I turned and with a flick of my wrist, tossed the watch into a nearby trash can. "You can throw away all the other stuff I gave you too." With that, I didn't even bother to look at her face again. I just turned and walked away. I didn't look back once. I just left. Chloe stood frozen, watching Noah's back disappear into the crowd, her expression sour. A few of her friends rushed to smooth things over. "Oh, come on. You know how much pride he has. He's just putting on a brave face. Just wait. He'll regret it tonight. He'll probably come back and dig through the trash, crying, as soon as we leave." Chloe scoffed. "Whatever. If it weren't for our parents being friends, I wouldn't even bother with him." Someone else chimed in. Okay, don't let him ruin the mood. Tonight is for celebrating." Chloe glanced at the handsome, wealthy new boyfriend by her side, and the flicker of annoyance vanished. She pushed Noah's irritating face out her mind. Besides, by tomorrow morning, Noah would probably act like nothing happened. He'd be waiting for her downstairs at her apartment building, begging for forgiveness, asking to walk her to class. By the time I reached the waterfront, the rain was coming down in sheets. I stood under my umbrella in the downpour, my mind replaying the bizarre dreams I'd been having for the past few days. In the dream, I was distraught over Chloe and Ethan. I wandered aimlessly along the riverbank until my foot slipped and I fell into the water. When I fell, my spine slammed against a rock. I nearly died right there. I ended up permanently disabled, never able to walk again. And Chloe, in that version of reality, never even came to see me once. To the Millers, the family who had taken me in for over a decade, I was the fake son. Once I was crippled, I had no value left. They quickly shipped me off to my biological parents, that pair of degenerate gamblers who had made a life of doing harm. From that point on, my life was like a runaway train, hurtling downhill until I died a miserable, pathetic death. After I died, the person who collected my shattered remains wasn't Chloe. It was the one person I had always avoided, the one I had deliberately kept at a distance. Meanwhile, Chloe was blissfully happy with her new husband, Ethan. They were inseparable. She never showed up, not even for my burial. The dreams from the past few days had been coming true, one by one. If it weren't for those dreams, I'd probably be blowing up Chloe's phone right now, losing my mind. In a way, I had to be grateful for the dream. It was like it had yanked me out of a tragic alternate reality, giving me a chance to dismantle the predetermined wreckage of my life, piece by piece. The third time I dialed the number, she finally picked up. I pressed the phone tightly to my ear. The name, Anna, rolled around on my tongue for a few seconds before I finally managed to say it. The rain was a deluge, washing out every other sound in the world, leaving only her low voice on the other end of the line. Noah. Yeah, I answered. Anna, the rain is too heavy. I'm stuck at the waterfront and can't get back. Can you come get me? There was a pause on her end. My hand gripping the umbrella handle was slick with sweat, my whole body tense as I waited for her answer. In the dream, when Anna was collecting my bones, I think she was crying. Her tears fell, one by one, on my rotting flesh and white bones. Even in the dream, I could feel the searing pain. Later, she put a small amount of my ashes into a tiny vial, wore it around her neck, and carried it for the rest of her life. She spent the rest of her life alone. The thought made my throat tighten, and an involuntary, choked sigh escaped me. Anna was silent for a couple of seconds on the other end, then finally spoke. Don't be dramatic. I didn't say I wouldn't come. I cleared my throat, embarrassed. So, when will you be here? Just wait. 20 minutes. Okay, I'll wait for you here. She didn't say anything else. The line went dead. Thinking about it, I couldn't help but let out another choked sigh. Anna was quiet for a moment, her tone sounding a bit resigned. Don't get all worked up. I didn't say no. I quickly changed the subject. So, about how long will it take you? Just wait, she replied coolly. I'll be there within 20 minutes. All right, I'll be waiting here for you then. She didn't say more and hung up. 15 minutes later, I gave my umbrella to a mother and her child who were trying to shelter from the rain. So by the time Anna arrived, I was soaked from head to toe. When she got out of the car, her red lips were pressed into a thin, tight line. Her face as cold as if it were coated in frost. I slicked back my wet hair and gave her a grin. Anna, you're right on time. Noah, you might as well just die from stupidity. Her face was stern as she grabbed my arm, shoved me into the car, and tossed a large, soft blanket at me. Dry off. Don't get the car wet. She glanced at me in the rearview mirror, then told the driver to turn around and head back. I scrubbed at my hair with the blanket, but my eyes kept drifting to the window, pretending to look at the scenery when I was really stealing glances at her. When her face was blank, she had this unapproachable, cold aura. Tons of guys at school were into her, but not a single one had the guts to actually ask her out. Chloe was her best friend and also her roommate. I was always over at their off-campus apartment, helping Chloe move things or carry packages. Every time I showed up, the look in Anna's eyes screamed annoyed. She looked at everyone like they were the enemy. Even now, though she was willing to pick me up, her attitude was still icy. You would never guess that this person had secretly been in love with me for a long time. I slowly shook my head. Everything from the dream was happening in reality, but because I had changed some of my choices ahead of time, a lot of things had already been thrown off course. The Anna in the dream would love me unconditionally. But the Anna of right now, would she still? What if she didn't actually like me at all? Then this whole maneuver would just be another way I was bothering her. Back to your dorm? Anna suddenly turned her head to look at me. My heart skipped a beat, and on some strange impulse, I blurted out, to your place? She let out a snore of laughter. Chloe's not coming back tonight. You won't see her even if you go. My ears burned. I know. I explained quickly. I'm not looking for her. Anna turned back to face me, her expression a mix of confusion and exasperation. Noah, are you just using me as a prop in your little drama? Her gaze was heavy, as if she was holding back a lot of words. Thinking of the her from my dream, I suddenly felt an indescribable sadness. I could only manage a bitter smile and a sigh. Anna, you know what happened today? All the guys in my dorm are laughing at me, saying the simp got nothing in the end. I'm planning to move out and rent a place tomorrow. Can you just let me crash for one night? I can sleep on your couch. I quickly added, of course, if it's not convenient, never mind. I'll find somewhere else. As soon as I finished, Anna didn't say a word, but the car continued steadily in the direction of her apartment. I followed her inside. She went straight to her closet, pulled out a dry towel, and shoved it at me. Bathroom's over there, she said flatly. After my shower, I threw on a loose sweatshirt and walked out of the bathroom, rubbing my hair messily with the towel as I looked for a hairdryer. Anna was sitting on the sofa, her eyes glued to the TV. She glanced up when I came out, but quickly looked away. I walked around the coffee table and shamelessly sat down next to her. The shampoo and body wash I had used were both hers. In the small living room, the same scent began to fill the air, creating a subtle, ambiguous, and almost intimate atmosphere. Anna suddenly stood up, her lips pressed together. It's too stuffy in here. I'm going to get some air on the balcony. With that, she pushed the door open and stepped outside. I looked around her apartment bored. The TV opposite the sofa was playing some cartoon. The coffee table was perfectly neat. Books, notebooks, her phone, everything in its designated spot. You could tell the owner was an incredibly tidy person. I was about to reach for a small trinket on the corner of the table when Anna's phone buzzed violently. The screen lit up with 3 words, Chloe Preston. I froze, not daring to touch it. The ringing stopped for a few seconds, then started again, persistent. It didn't seem like it was going to stop anytime soon. I called out towards the balcony. Anna. She poked her head back in. What's up? Chloe's calling you. The next second, she was back inside. She picked up the phone, emotionlessly silenced it, and didn't even bother to look at the screen. I scratched my head, awkwardly changing the subject. I got a spot on the sofa wet. Looks like I'll be sleeping on the floor tonight. Anna looked at me for a couple of seconds, then glanced down at the damp spot on the sofa. The tips of her ears turned a faint red. She was quiet for a moment, then turned, pulled a hairdryer from the TV stand, and handed it to me. You can sleep in my bed for now, she said in a low voice. I was stunned. Then where will you sleep? She pulled out the chair from her desk, not looking back. I'm going to watch my show. Anna just put on her headphones when my phone rang unexpectedly. The name flashing on the screen was Chloe. I frowned and answered, annoyed. Chloe, what do you want now? Anna's brow furrowed slightly. She glanced at me, then nonchalantly turned her attention back to her computer screen. Chloe was clearly angry on the other end. Someone told me they saw you go to our apartment. I'm warning you, don't be a stalker. The more you act like this, the more I'm going to hate you. I was about to fire back when Anna suddenly stood up from her chair, walked right in front of me, and straddled my lap, her arms wrapping around my neck. I instinctively tried to push her away, but she leaned in close, her voice a low whisper in my ear. Noah, tell her you're here to see someone else. The moment her fingertips brushed the back of my neck, my skin felt like it was on fire. My whole body went rigid, my heart threatening to beat its way out of my chest. I looked down at her. She was looking up at me, her eyes shimmering as if a soft mist was blooming within them, her dark pupils reflecting the light. Could you stop being so full of yourself? I said into the phone, my voice strained. I'm here to see someone else today. The second I said it, Anna reached over, snatched the phone from my hand, and tossed it aside. She burrowed into my chest, burying her face against me. In the next instant, I felt a dormant, molten volcano awaken inside me. A roaring filled my ears, and the first primal thought that surfaced was, get out of here now. Calm down, calm down. I repeated it to myself over and over, but Anna just held me tighter. She lifted her head, her body pressing closer, her voice so soft it seemed to melt into her breath. Noah. That one word made my bones feel like they were dissolving. Her hot breath on my ear was the final straw. My self-control shattered, and I leaned down and kissed her. All it took was that gentle pull from her, and the two flimsy lines of defense around my heart were torn to shreds. I gasped for air against her lips, trying to claw back a sliver of sanity. "Don't tempt me anymore. I don't want to touch you in a place like this." I said it and tried to shift back, to put some space between us. But she moved her hips slightly, as if finding a more comfortable position, and the volcano inside me was instantly on the verge of eruption. In the space between breaths, she shot me a glare, biting her lip in frustration. "If you really didn't want to touch me, then why did you kiss me?" Her forehead rested against mine, our breaths mingling. I could only close my eyes and desperately try to calm my racing heart. "And another thing," she said, biting her swollen lip with a look of utter disdain. "Do you even know how to kiss? You completely mauled my mouth." I was speechless for a second. My right hand gently cupped her slim waist through her clothes, while my left hand took hers. "Anna," I whispered, "I'll be gentler this time." With that, my hand slid down her back, pulling her upper body firmly against mine, pressing us even closer. This kiss was much slower than the last, like a gentle, flowing stream, tinged with a careful tenderness and an irrepressible desire. By the end, I still lost some control. She was breathless from my kiss and lightly punched my chest, then opened her mouth and bit my lower lip. I had managed to keep the volcano from erupting, but it was still simmering dangerously close to the edge. Clearly, she sensed the danger too. Anna's entire face was flushed a deep red, her ears so crimson they looked like they might bleed. The typically cool and distant goddess now had wet, shining eyes filled with embarrassment. "I'm going to take a shower," she mumbled. With that, she stood up as if escaping, avoiding my eyes. She pulled the hem of my shirt down for me. "You go to sleep." I had just managed an okay before she was gone, rushing into the bathroom in 3 quick steps and locking the door behind her. The sound of the shower started. I collapsed on her bed, my head sinking into the soft pillow as drowsiness slowly washed over me. Anna was tall, with beautifully defined features. She had the kind of face that would get flooded with praise on the campus confessions page, a classic goddess. But she had never dated anyone, never even held a guy's hand. There were even rumors that she might not be into men. And yet, everything that happened today made my mind flash back to the dream of her, living out her entire life alone. An inexplicable sourness welled up inside me. I rolled over, burying my face in her pillow and stretching. My fingertips brushed against something hard under the pillow. I pulled it out. It was a single pearl ear stud. I recognized it instantly. Back when I was chasing Chloe, I had bought small gifts for all of her roommates to get on their good side. This ear stud was one of them. I never thought Anna would have kept it under her pillow all this time. I suddenly remembered that in my dreams, she seemed to always be wearing these same ear studs from her school uniform days until her hair was streaked with silver. I stared at it for a long time, a tender spot in my heart gently prodded, feeling both sore and full. After a while, I tucked the ear stud back under her pillow. Just then, the sound of the hairdryer in the bathroom stopped. The bathroom door opened softly. Anna walked out, changed into a set of cream-colored seersucker pajamas. The steam hadn't fully dissipated yet, and her skin looked luminous, as delicate as jade. Her hair was down, and she looked less like the unapproachable ice queen and more soft and gentle. For some reason, I suddenly found her incredibly cute in that moment. For some reason, just looking at Anna right then, she seemed to have softened completely. She looked so sweet, so adorable it made my fingertips tingle. I was about to call her name when I heard faint voices from outside the door. My face fell, and I froze on the spot. Through the door, in the fragmented conversation, one voice was painfully familiar. Chloe. Anna was clearly startled too, but she reacted much faster than I did. By the time Chloe pushed the door open, Anna had already shoved my jacket into the closet, kicked my shoes deep under the bed, and, while turning off the main light, slipped under the covers. The only light left on in the room was a small night light, casting a dim, hazy glow. I was curled up under her covers, forming a small, inconspicuous lump. Even if Chloe came closer, she wouldn't notice anything unless she deliberately pulled back the blanket. "Why are the lights off so early?" Chloe asked, puzzled. "Tired," and his voice was muffled. "The rain today gave me a headache." As she spoke, she reached a hand under the covers and playfully scratched my palm, as if warning me not to move. The bed was only about 4 feet wide, and with her long legs, I was practically pressed against her side. My shallow breaths landed on her waist. I could feel her stomach muscles clench tight. Chloe didn't turn on the light. She pulled over a chair, sat down, and started making calls on her phone. She dialed several times, but no one answered. She was clearly getting frustrated. "Anna, do you think Noah is doing this on purpose?" "What on purpose?" Anna asked. "The same day Ethan asks me out, he decides to act out against me," Chloe grumbled. "The news was just on, saying some college student jumped into the river over a girl. I thought it might be him, but when they pulled the body out, it wasn't. Then someone told me he went off with some other girl, and now he won't answer my calls." Chloe slammed her phone down on the desk and sneered. "He's doing it on purpose, try to ruin my moment. He's probably going to blame me for this for the rest of his life." Anna suddenly added in a cool tone, "Not necessarily." "What's not necessarily?" Chloe asked, confused. "You know better than I do how he's been chasing you these past 2 years, Anna said calmly. "And you've been pretty annoyed by it, right? You never gave him the time of day." Hearing that, I couldn't resist pinching the soft flesh of her waist under the covers. The pinch made Anna flinch. Her whole body tensed, and she let out a muffled hiss. "What's wrong?" Chloe asked sharply. "Nothing," Anna said, her voice strained. "Leg cramp." She followed it up with a couple of fake coughs, putting on a convincing act. Chloe sighed. "All right, well, you get some sleep. I won't bother you." She stood up, adding, "I'm just going to use the bathroom, and then I'll be out of here." Hearing the word bathroom, my stomach dropped. Crap. After my shower, I had washed my socks and left them hanging to dry in there. Sure enough, just 2 minutes later, Chloe came out with a knowing smirk on her face. "Anna, did you bring a guy back to the apartment? You're being very thorough with hiding him." Chloe's smile was full of meaning. "So which hotshot finally managed to bag our ice queen, Anna?" "Don't be ridiculous." Anna's voice immediately turned cold. Chloe took 2 steps towards the bed, leaning in. "Going to bed this early? You don't actually have someone hiding in there, do you?" She was about to get closer when Anna's voice dropped, her whole demeanor turning frigid. Chloe stopped in her tracks and held up her hands in surrender. All right, I won't come over." Even as she said it, she couldn't help but shoot a few more curious glances at the bed, her eyes full of gossip. "But seriously," she teased, "you two should be safe. I have more condoms than I know what to do with. Want me to share? It wouldn't be fun if a little angel decided to move in early." I watched Anna's fists clench in suppressed anger and reached out under the covers to squeeze her hand, telling her not to lose it. She finally looked up at Chloe, her tone icy. "I don't find that kind of joke funny. It's pathetic." Chloe was taken aback. "So serious?" Anna's lips were pressed into a tight line. If the light had been any brighter, Chloe would have seen how hard she was struggling to keep her composure. Her hands were clamped down on the top half of the blanket, keeping me from moving, but other parts of me were free to roam under the covers, out of sight. I decided to run my hand up her calf, gently squeezing her thigh. She trembled at my touch. Chloe just assumed she was shaking with anger and felt a little intimidated. She shrugged. "Fine, I won't disturb you too. I'm staying out tonight anyway." Her words were dripping with insinuation. Before she left, she shot one last meaningful look at Anna's bed and rolled her eyes. "She acts all pure and untouchable, turning down every guy who looks at her, but behind closed doors, she's just like everyone else." She was almost certain there was someone hiding under that blanket. They were probably into some kinky stuff, but she didn't call her out on it. After all, she and Anna were on decent terms. It was just that Anna was a notch more popular than her, which sometimes made her feel a little insecure, but other than that, there was no real conflict between them. The door closed with a soft click, and the apartment was quiet again. I immediately threw off the covers, gasping for air. "Anna." I was about to suffocate in there. Anna was leaning against the headboard, watching me quietly. The dim yellow night light sculpted her features, the play of light and shadow on her face adding a hazy, alluring quality to her already stunning looks. I stared at her, dumbfounded, with only one thought in my head. She was even more beautiful in the soft light. This whole atmosphere was dangerously intoxicating. Noah. Anna slowly sat up, tucking a strand of hair that I had messed up behind her ear. She looked at me seriously, enunciating each word. I have never been annoyed by you, and I've never given you a dirty look. Don't take what she said to heart. With that, she turned her head away, avoiding my gaze, and got out of bed. You should sleep. What about you? I asked instinctively. She picked up a glass of water from the desk and gestured vaguely towards the living room. I'm going to watch my show out there. You go to sleep. I reached out and grabbed her hand, my voice a mix of pleading and suggestion. Anna, it's cold tonight. The blanket is so thin. This time, she pulled her hand away. Noah, Chloe's gone. You don't have to pretend anymore. I was stunned. What does she have to do with anything? Anna gave a self-deprecating laugh, her eyes veiled with an unreadable emotion. Then why did you go to the waterfront tonight? It finally clicked. It was what Chloe had said about the news report of a student jumping into the river. Anna had constructed an entire narrative in her head. In her eyes, I had gone to the waterfront to kill myself. Calling her, coming to her apartment, it was all a ploy to get revenge on Chloe. Honestly, I could understand why she would think that. For the past 2 years, ever since the Millers brought their real, biological son back into the family, my adoptive parents had been pressuring me, trying to send me back to my biological parents. They only kept me around because I still had some use, thanks to the marriage arrangement with the Prestons. So for me, Chloe was like a lifeline. I had always believed that since we grew up together, there was at least some affection between us, that she would help me out when things got tough. I had pinned all my hopes on her, which, to outsiders, looked like I was madly in love with her. And Anna, of all people, was Chloe's best friend. She had seen me shamelessly trailing after Chloe countless times. Anna, I started to explain. She had already stood up, her voice flat. Set an alarm. Leave early tomorrow morning so no one sees you. With that, she walked out without a backward glance. I clenched my jaw, fighting the urge to say something, but I couldn't hold it in. Then what about you kissing me so many times tonight? And what we just did, what was all that? Anna stopped dead in her tracks. She turned to look at me, her eyes already red. I pressed on. I know you find me annoying, but for what happened tonight, I still have to thank you. If you really don't want anything to do with me ever again, then I'll leave right now. I threw off the covers and got out of bed, my bare feet hitting the cold floor. I didn't even bother looking for my shoes as I walked towards the door. As I passed her, I kept my head down, not daring to look at her. But in my peripheral vision, I could see that tears were silently streaming down her face. She didn't make a sound. Noah. She suddenly grabbed my wrist, her voice hoarse. I told you before, I don't hate you. A surge of warmth shot through my chest. I turned and pulled her into my arms. Then, do you want me to be responsible for you? She didn't answer, but her eyelashes fluttered. I didn't wait for an answer. I cupped her chin and kissed her hard. She responded with equal passion, our breaths tangling, as reason burned away to nothing. When it was over, she whispered in my ear, Noah, if you're really going to be responsible, then be responsible all the way. I tightened my arms around her slim waist and said with conviction, okay. Over the long fall break, I flew alone to the city where my biological parents lived and stayed there for 3 whole days. By the time I left, that pair of degenerate, good-for-nothing scumbags had been arrested by the police on the spot. Human trafficking, illegal gambling, forcing women into prostitution. I had prepared all the evidence, one charge after another. It was all thanks to the dreams that had shown me everything in advance. I didn't need to wait to be reborn, and I didn't have to hope for a next life. In this life, I could make them pay the price they deserved and get them out of my life for good. As the plane took off, I fastened my seatbelt and let out a long, slow breath. The biggest weight on my chest had finally been lifted. In that moment, for the first time, I truly felt light, free. The moment the plane landed in the city, the first thing I did was text Anna to let her know I was safe. She had no idea about the real purpose of my trip. She just thought I had gone on a trip with some friends for a few days. She called back almost immediately, her voice lazy. I'm coming over to your place tonight. Is it all set up? And I had already decided to move into my new rental. After all, her living in the same apartment as Chloe was just too inconvenient for me. It's been ready for a while. Awaiting your arrival, I replied with a smile. She was quiet for a few seconds on the other end, then said my name again. Noah. Yeah? What's up? It's Chloe's birthday today. She paused. She's throwing a party and told me to come tonight, and to bring my boyfriend. I froze for a second, only then remembering that Chloe's birthday fell right during holiday break. Anna continued, do you want to go with me? I didn't answer right away. A conflict was brewing inside me. It wasn't that I didn't want to go public with our relationship. It was that I had a feeling the Millers were about to cut ties with me completely. When that happened, my less than respectable origins would inevitably be exposed. I knew Anna wouldn't care, but I couldn't stand the thought of her being judged and gossiped about because of it, just like in the dream. In the dream, people had called her disloyal and ungrateful for defying her parents for a man with a tainted background, saying she had made her family sick with worry. All the filth was thrown at her. But just as Anna had said that day, if I was going to be responsible for her, I had to be responsible all the way. You can't have it all.